Hey everyone, it's Jack, and today I'm going to take a look at Linux Mint LMDE. LMDE is the Debian version of Linux Mint, and hey, what's up with the background? Oh, I just wanted to try something different. What the heck, change of pace. So I'm out here at the Linux Mint website right now, LMDE download area, and so LMDE, like I said, is the Linux Mint Debian edition. And so if you're not a big fan of Ubuntu, Debian is a great alternative, and you can still have the magic of Linux Mint all rolled into one. So that's really cool. And this was actually created just in case Ubuntu was to ever disappear. So it allows them to assess how much they depend on Ubuntu and how much work would be involved in such an event. So LMDE is kind of like their backup plan, which is really cool. And it also guarantees that the software that they develop is also compatible outside of Ubuntu. And the other thing I think is really cool is that with the alternative Debian edition, you got the Debian repos kind of like right there available too. And so I can't wait to try this. This is the beta version that's just been released, the version 6. And I think it was released on September 14th, if I remember right. So only a few days ago as of the time of this filming. So I'm going to download it from the special beta download link, which I'll provide in the link below. So let's just get right down to it. I'm just going to go ahead and download this from the special link that goes to the beta 6 version. I don't see it here on the website, but I did find it out on DistroWatch. And I'm going to share that with you in the description below. So no worries there. Or you can just go out to DistroWatch and get it. Or if you know where it is on the website, excellent. Let's get to it. I'll be right back. Okay, and here we are at our live screen. And so we got our live boot up, and I'm just going to hit Start LMDE, and that should get us booted into the live version. It's been a while since I've taken a look at LMDE, but I do remember this is really a cool release. I really enjoyed reviewing it last time, and something about just being pure Debian really appeals to me. Not that I have anything against Ubuntu, because I'm fine with that as well, but just having a Debian release on Mint, to me, is just, well, general coolness. So this ought to be loading in any second now. It takes a minute there to get all the live stuff populated in here off of U drive, so you gotta kind of expect a little bit of a delay there. And here we are, we're in the desktop. Oh, right off the bat, you can see our gorgeous desktop here, the Linux Mint desktop, and with the cinnamon and its classic look. So looking good. I'm just gonna get right in here and hit the installer. And there's our welcome to LMDE 6. Cool. So let's hit let's go here, and it's going to auto detect our language, so we're good with that. English is good. Got 11:20 for our time zone, so that would be New York. Looks good. Kind of cool that it has the time there. Didn't notice that before. And then here's our keyboard layout, and that's all auto detected. Then we'll just go with a name and computer name. The top field there is just like a friendly name, so you could like just put your whole name in there if you want to, and then that'll kind of show up on your login, but your actual username would be here. And then we'll just go ahead and choose a password. And all the other defaults look good. I'm just going to go with next on that. And then here we have our automated install, which is good with me. I'm going to select our disk, and I have 69 gigs set aside for this. And I'm just going to go with that. And also they have the manual partitioning option if you want to do things manually. But typically if you're just going to wipe your whole drive, it's a lot easier just to go with automated. And so I'm going to say yes to delete all my data. And so if you have data you don't want to delete, then I would say no. Okay, so here we got install the grub boot menu on VDA. So I'm good with that. I'm just going to go with the defaults there. And everything looks good to me, so that's kind of our summary screen. And then I'm just going to go here and let it run. And so far, so good. I can see it looked like it was the 6.1 kernel there. I didn't quite catch that, but pretty new looking kernel, relatively. So I'm going to just let it do its thing, and then I'll be right back when it's finished. Okay, and it looks like our installation is finished. So I'm just going to come up here and click the yes button here, let it restart. I'm going to also remove the ISO, and then we'll reboot, and I'll be right back. Okay, and here we are at our boot screen, and all is looking good here. And so this should boot in fairly quickly, and it looks like everything went well with the install, since we are booting. When they don't go well, you usually don't boot. So we ought to be seeing a login screen here just about any second now. And the splash screen looks pretty cool too. I like the Linux Mint splash screen, and it's got animation in it. I don't think the animation was already always there. Either that or I just now noticed it. I don't know. But here now we should be seeing a login screen. And there we go. Toadwick Cloud. So I'm going to just go ahead and log in. And that should get us right in. And here we are. So everything looks like it loaded in fine. We got our welcome screen and our beautiful Cinnamon desktop here. By the way, Cinnamon is the only desktop available by default here in the LMDE Debian version, which I think is fine with most people, because most people, when they use Linux Mint, Cinnamon is kind of the flagship desktop that most want to go with anyway, so it all just kind of works out. And I can kind of see the logic in that, especially in the context of why LMDE is developed in the first place. So here on our welcome screen, we just kind of have our welcome to your new operating system and all that. And then let's go. I don't know if that's going to take me out to give feedback or just to another screen. Let's find out. And it's another screen. Whew, that was a close one. So here we got some of our tweaks here that we can do right off the bat. So we got desktop colors. So you can make yourself right at home and choose your favorite color wherever you prefer, whether you prefer a light or a dark desktop theme. And I kind of prefer the dark, and it looks like that's what we have by default. And I think I'm good with that. But let's launch that anyways. I think it also lets you tweak the highlighting too. Yeah, I forgot what you call it. But here we got our mint icon style here. So you can have a mixed, a dark, and a light by default. And I'm pretty good with the mix there. And then here we got our different colors. And I think that's also applying to the icons as well. Let me just open up our file explorer here and then slide that over. And I think this is Thunar, maybe. A Nemo. Okay, yeah, I was wrong. I was never wrong before. That's a strange feeling. So anyway, we got running version Nemo 5.84, and as you can see with the mix mode here, we kind of have our dark menu and so forth, but we have a light background in the file browser. So that's kind of what you get there with a mixed experience. Of course, with a light here, then you get a light bar and a light menu and all that. So that even looks good in the light mode, because they do have it kind of a grayish silver color there instead of a blinding white. So I like that too. And then of course our dark mode will kind of go completely dark, and then you even have a dark background on your file manager and other open applications as well. And personally, I kind of like that, so I might stick with that. And so here we have our icon colors, so we can dynamically change those colors right here. And as you can see right now, we got a blue and a gold here, and I think the blue probably relates to the highlighting. So if I click on that, then you can see that the music there is highlighted, or the downloads and so forth. If you want it all blue, we can go over here and that'll change the color to blue icons. And then we can go with a lighter blue here, and that looks kind of nice actually. I kind of like that. I don't usually use blue icons because they're just so standard, but that shade of blue is kind of cool. I like that. And the two-tone design is really nice. And then of course we can go here with other colors, so there's lots of different colors you can choose from. That's a nice kind of a teal color there. And then we got our green. And I also like the fact that it's dynamically changing here, even though there's a little bit of a delay. And then we got our orange, kind of an Ubuntu color, I think. Yeah, but actually a slightly different shade. I'm liking it. And then we can go with gray with a orange highlighting and kind of red shadowing there, or a magenta, I guess. Really nice. And then we got red folders. Excellent. That goes good with a dark background. And then a pinkish color there also looks excellent with a background, with a dark background. And then purple. Wow, that purple is actually a very cool shade. That appeals to me. I think I might go with that. Yes, I like it. So I'll just kind of go with purple there. And so that's a Mint Y style, but you got all these different ones here. You can go with some more classic-y types. And then the Adwaita as well, of course. And then here, again, we're back to our mixed mode when we change the icons. That's not a bad looking icon, actually. And so again, I'm going to go... Actually, apparently that's doesn't give you a dark option for the Mint X. Probably they didn't have dark icons available for that, maybe. So go over here to Mint L, and then we got our dark. And so that looks pretty good. And then, of course, we got the old classic Adwaita there, if you just kind of like the classic Adwaita look. But I'm going to stick with the Mint Y. I do like that a lot. And apparently I got to go switch it back, so I'm just going to go with purple and dark. And we're good. So there we are. Some basic theming. And what's under advanced? Here we got our mouse pointer settings, so we can actually change our mouse pointer. And if you want something a little more traditional, we could go with something like Breeze Snow or Pro Light. So here you got a white cursor, which to me kind of makes more sense with a dark background because it's easier to see. But of course, if you don't want it to be so easy to see, we can go with something like DMZ Black, and you still got the outline in white, so it's quite easy to see too, and not too overwhelming. And then our application colors, so here we got an area where we can kind of tweak our different colors in the application itself. So kind of another way to change colors, but beyond the icons. So if I wanted to go with a Mint L dark pink kind of look, you could hit that. And then your highlighting in the background turns pink, but your folder icons are still the same. So you can really mix and match a lot this way. So that's kind of cool. And I'm just going to kind of go back with the Mint Y dark purple, because that's where we were before. Mint Y being the icon, dark being the theme, and then purple being purple. And then we got our desktop. So here we can also change even our desktop stuff, and which I think is referring to the panel down there. So if I wanted the panel to be a little bit different, like, I don't know, if I wanted to come down here and just kind of go with something like a Mint Y Aqua. Right now my underlines are like purple, but if I wanted the underlines to be like, say, blue, I could hit it like that. Now I got blue highlighting under there. So cool and groovy. I like the flexibility we got here of just kind of changing stuff around. And again, I think I'm going to go back with purple, but actually the red kind of looks cool too for the highlighting, but maybe a little too dark. So purple it is. But for something more dramatic, you can also make your bar a light color and kind of go with orange and just keep the rest dark. So if you kind of like having your menu brighter but everything else dark, that's another option. And then here we got our add remove. And so I'm thinking that's going to like refer to themes here that are available. So these are themes that you can download. And so this is kind of cool. This is one of the things that I like about KDE actually, is that you kind of have a direct access to download theming. And you got the same in Cinnamon, which is kind of cool. So if you wanted to like change your theme, and maybe you were looking around and you were thinking, I really miss the look of Windows 10. I wish I could have it back. Then you can do it right here. So you can just hit the download here and just install that. And then you'll be in a Windows 10 type theme. And there's our update manager. I'll just push that off to the side. But to actually make that theme active, I guess I'd have to go back into our settings. I don't see access to it right here, because these are all like the compartmentalized areas. But like if I went into our settings here, and I might as well look since we're just right here anyway, and I'll hit themes. Nope. So yeah, I'm not really sure where that went. So I'm just kind of wondering if maybe, let me hit on themes again. We got style. Yeah, I don't know. Advanced. Okay, so that was a mystery. Maybe a little bit later down in the line of this review, I will see that theme that I downloaded, because apparently I added it, but I just don't know where it is. And if I refresh, maybe that'll do something. Negative. So yeah, I'll just pretend I didn't go there. That's it. So we got an update manager here. So I'm just going to offline update this real quick, and then I'll come back after a restart, and maybe that theme will show up after the restart. So I'm going to give that a try and see what happens. So I can just hit OK, let it do its thing, restart, and I'll be right back. See, that was quick. And rebooting was even quicker. I am amazing. So let's see if our theme came back. So I'm going to hit this Let's Go thing again. Just kind of scroll down a little bit to see if there's anything else I overlooked. Go back to desktop colors, launch. Take a look at some of my stuff. And if I go in the icons, I can see a lot of choices here. These are nice. Wow. But yeah, nothing related to that Windows theme that I was in. So really kind of bizarre. Apparently this add remove area was kind of a decoration. Or I'm overlooking something super obvious and I'm going to feel so dumb that even my cat will laugh at me. And then here we got our system snapshot. So if you want to take a backup of your system every day, you can take snapshots here, and then that way if you accidentally host something, you can restore back to a previous restore point using this system snapshots, which is nice. Then you got your media codecs, and I would recommend this for any user that starts off, is to load in the additional codecs, because this will allow you to play videos and listen to music files of different formats and so forth without any kind of problems. So getting the codecs, to me, is like one of the important things you want to do, especially on any Debian/Ubuntu based distro that may not have them in by default. So I'll just authenticate here real quick, and that should download them in a flash, and then that takes care of all the codecs. If you ever load in a distro that doesn't give you the options to easily download the codecs, one thing I usually do is just install VLC Player, because installing VLC Player will typically install all those cool codecs that you need by default anyway. So that's kind of like my shortcut workaround for that. And it usually covers all the essentials anyway. And then we have our update manager, which we already did the updates there, which is great. And then access to our system settings, which we also have in our menu here off here on the side. And so that is where you get to there. Then we got our software manager. So I'm going to just go ahead and launch that and take a look at the software manager and kind of see what's new with it. And of course, first time opening of the software manager always takes a little bit of time, because you got to populate the metadata and so forth from the internet. So that's one of the reasons you get the little spinner there for a while. But after that, it should open up much quicker. Oh, it's in. Excellent. Yeah, that took a little bit there. I think it took a full minute, but it finally came in, so we're good. Wow, beautiful though. The software manager is really laid out nicely here. I am liking that. Inkscape featured right on top here, the vector-based drawing program. Nice. And then all kinds of recommended software. Here we got our categories, accessories, fonts, games, graphics, all the essentials, even access to the flat packs. I'm liking it. And then we have our flat hub. We have our flat hub stuff here also noted down here in the little left-hand corner. So if you want to download something even proprietary like Zoom and WhatZ, I'm not sure what that is. Kind of a cute version of a cute WhatsApp web client apparently for Linux. Nice. And I like what they got here in the features and how they got it laid out here. And we got our top rated here. A real-time photorealistic sky generator. That seems to be like right near the top. Mind test, pulse effects, audio effects for pulse audio. Nice. So a lot of cool stuff here. VLC Player, Hedge Wars is a pretty popular game, and so forth. So I am thinking this is kind of cool. And I'm going to download that Stellarium. Since we're going to test this, we might as well see what this is like. So this is a real-time photorealistic sky generator. That's cool. And it looks like it's got a layout of the constellations and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and continue with that. And let's just take a look. Let's see how good their recommendations are on the software manager. And to me, this looks kind of interesting. I like staring up in the sky anyway. I can look up and see my home planet. Oops, you didn't hear that. So this ought to take just a second to install. And I believe this was installing right from the Mint repos here. But if you click over here, you can see that you can also download the Flatpak version too, if you prefer that. So that little drop down will kind of give you the option. And that's nice to see, because there's some things that I do like in a Flatpak. OBS Studio happens to be one of them. And so it looks like this is just about finished installing. And I honestly don't really know what this is, actually, this sky generator, if it's just something that well, let's find out. It's kind of wrapping things up here. You got the spinner there. So I'm going to just hit launch. I'm also going to double check and make sure that it appeared here in the menu, and not really sure what that's under. So I'm just going to type it in the search, and there it is. Cool. So I might as well click it there since I'm there. And we'll minimize that. And I'm going to close our welcome screen as well. I think we're good there. And wow, using the default Meteor Showers catalog. So here we got our big background here, and I really don't have any idea what I'm doing, but here we got looks like a 360 degree of some field somewhere. So that is cool. I am liking that. Very cool. So I'm in some kind of virtual place. Image sensor frame, ocular view, Telrad site. So to me this kind of looks like something that you might use with a telescope. So maybe there's some way that this interfaces. Hard to say. And I really don't have any idea what I'm doing, so this is not like one of those intuitive things that you just know what to do if you never did it before. Oh yes, okay, so here we got, apparently you can, like, maybe it's a telescope simulator. Here we got different telescopes. Wow, yeah, that's what this is, I think. It's a simulator. Cool. So let's go with a Celestron Onyx 80EDF. That could be kind of cool. And I haven't had a telescope in years, but I think they're kind of cool. So I'm going to close that, and I don't know how you get to a night sky unless this is like real time, maybe. And my scope is a little bit out of focus. Don't really know how to get out of this blur mode here. And we have a toolbar down here. So, yeah, unfortunately, there we go. So now we just switched it to the night sky. That's better. So since I'm in a telescope, apparently I can, like, scroll around. And this is really kind of cool. And I can see all this stuff. And I'm sure there's probably a way that I could actually make this simulate a telescope too. And I was kind of hoping to find something familiar here, like Mars. But there, I just clicked on something. Oh, and this is our site. So if we go in here, we can kind of sight something out, just like we were in a telescope. Very cool. So I could like zoom on this guy and then just kind of select it, and then you get all kinds of information here about the object that you just selected. Nice. And then here apparently we can just like select our telescope again right from here. Nice. And that really does simulate looking through a site, I guess. And with that, well, that was moderately neato. So let's jump in here to our application, just kind of see what we got here. So in true Linux Mint style, it is very well populated. Under all applications, we got all applications. And then we got our accessories, which is all our cool essentials like our calculator and document viewer and so forth, files, fonts, image viewer, screenshot, and USB writer, which is really nice as well. And under education, there's our Stellarium, which we had installed earlier. Graphics, we got a Pix, which is like a basic paint program, a document scanner, and a drawing program. And then our Firefox here, that's always cool. I just kind of take a quick look at Firefox here and kind of see what version we got in here, whether it's the ESR version or from the repo or whatever. So I'm going to hit Help, About, and it looks like we're running 117.0 from the repo. I'm liking it. Another one that passed the Jack test. Of course, the extended service release is fine as well, but I just kind of prefer the repo. And then we also got LibreOffice installed, and one of the ritual things that I do here when I evaluate a desktop is just to take a look at the theming once I change over from light to dark, and the dark theming works just fine. I always kind of do that as just a little theming test on how well a distro lays out their themes, because a lot of times you might go in here and the icons are not visible or partially visible, hard to see because the theme isn't quite matched up with LibreOffice, and so then you gotta kind of change it around. But of course, in Linux Mint, they never disappoint, especially in the theming department, so I would have been shocked if that didn't look good. And then here we got Celluloid for video and Rhythmbox for music files, and then Hypnotics, which is an IPTV app, which is kind of cool. And so you can go in here and look at TV channels from all around the world, which is cool, even the USA. Wow! And so I don't think all of these work. Some of them do, some of them don't. It's kind of a crapshoot. Like here you got CNN. I think that quit working. It used to work in here, but doesn't work anymore as far as I know. But with IPTV, you never know. It might just appear one of these days. And then we got Retro TV, so that's got like classic TV channels in there. which is cool. And of course, it takes a minute for some of these to populate as well. It's not really instantaneous, usually. And then you got like a docudrama channel, NASA TV. And again, I don't know what works. Maybe Reuters, that's pretty safe. That should probably work. And there it is. So, yeah. You got some hairball politician on there talking stuff about stuff. All right. And then let's see that other, it also has a movies category here. That's kind of cool. So if we click in here, it looks like you can get movies in English and Italy, some miscellaneous stuff. So that's kind of cool as well. This is actually something I never really explored. So it looks like there's a ton of categories. That's actually kind of cool. And I don't know if these are like, whoops, I clicked on something. Somehow my arrow gets a little messed up there. But we got classic movies, flicks of fury, cult films, Paramount Movie Channel. Wow, that's pretty wild. I always thought that was a premium thing. But there you go, and you got some classic movie in there. Wow. That actually looks familiar. I probably watched that at one time in my life or another. And 70s cinema. So these are probably movies that were out in the 70s. And so that is kind of cool. It looks like you got like just kind of random movies. It's kind of like a potluck. So there's no kind of menuing thing. So you can, you know, like kind of see what's on. But it is kind of cool that you can go in here and just flip around and run into movies. And so that's all right. I like this movie feature. That's really something that I never paid attention to. In fact, I'm not even sure I remember seeing that before. I guess I just maybe always focused on the TV and never thought about it. So there you go, Hypnotics. Whoops, some reason my arrow keeps changing. And then finally you got your admin stuff here and your preferences. And maybe that mystery theme thing is somewhere here in the preferences. Maybe there's something that's kind of related strictly or specifically to the theming that we didn't see elsewhere. I don't know. There's themes, but I think that's going to just take us back to where we were at the beginning, which it does. But let's go into our settings. So I can just close this, and then let's go into our system settings here and just do a quick look here. If we go into our backgrounds, we can see our different image backgrounds here for our wallpaper. And these are like the defaults for the newest version, I think. Then you got wallpapers from Vanessa. Wow, some nice variety here. I'm liking that. Cool. Could even add some palm trees in there. Warm it up a bit. I'm liking it. Nice. And then for Vera, these are the defaults for Vera, which I think is the current Debian release, if I remember right, for the LMDE 5. Although I could be wrong. This is another cool one I like, is this retro look. I like that. Very cool. And then from Victoria, we got more stuff to choose from, so a lot of wallpapers here. And then, of course, from your own picture file, and you can add in custom folders as well for anything custom. So I'm liking that. And then here we have our settings over here, so you can actually play the backgrounds as a slideshow and just rotate through them periodically if you wish to do that. And then that would do it. Here we got our delay set at 15 minutes by default, so you can make your delay suited to your taste. And then aspect, typically zoom is what I would go with, but you could also stretch or center and so forth. And then that's the actual size of the picture. So that actually kind of looks cool that way. I might even go with that if I was like, just had it on my own desktop there. But zoomed will give you the will zoom it to the size of your monitor and size it for you with a decent aspect ratio, I think. And then we got our effects, and I always like effects. These are kind of the effects you see when you open and close your windows and so forth, like when I open up my file manager, and then if I were to close it, it just kind of fades away on the close there. So that's where you can kind of tweak all that stuff, is right here. And pretty much everything is on, as far as I can tell. And then you can change your different effects between fly and move, traditional, and then your animation speed and so forth. Always fun to look at. And then we got our accessibility settings, account details. If you want to give yourself an icon, you can click on this guy. And there's all kinds of nice default icons. And I think this time I'll probably go with this. I'm not sure what that is. A toucan, maybe? Yeah, it kind of looks like it. So that's kind of cool. I like that. Got a nice look there. And then we got our applets here, which are a nice part of Cinnamon. And these applets are the ones that show up down here in your toolbar in the lower right-hand corner. So if you wanted to add something in here, you could just scroll through here and find some cool stuff to just kind of add. So applets are always good. And you can also download from the internet if you want something specific. Maybe you want a weather app. We could go in here and type in weather and do a search after it's done populating. And there we go. Weather apps are always among my favorites. So I could just take that and download it. And then just go back to manage. And then we could just add it in. And just hit plus to add. And then it pops right down here on your desktop. How cool is that? And there we go, 58 degrees. Nice. And sunshine. So by default, it detected my location here. And then you also got your desklets here. If you want to add something onto your desktop, like put a clock there or whatever. And again, you can download things from the internet as well. And then you got our desktop settings. So here is where you can kind of choose what you want to show on your desktop. By default, everything's turned off. But if you want desktop icons up here, you can hit the computer and it'll show your computer up there. Your home folder. That's always nice to have easy access to. Your trash bin right there. And also networks. If you're on a network, you could see your network drives and so forth from there. Easy access to it. And then, of course, you can show on your primary monitor or all additional monitors as well. Nice. And then you got your extensions in case you wanted to download something special. Nothing in there by default, but you can hit the download and it'll pull some off the internet. And then you could just kind of spice up your experience, like with transparent panels. If you want your panel down here to be a little transparent, you can do that right here with the extension. Cinnamon dynamic wallpapers, smart panel, wobbly windows. Wow! So yeah, extensions are great for just kind of enhancing your system there. I am liking that as well. And then we got our general. And typically I would just kind of leave this at their defaults because it's already optimized for just about everyone's situation there. You got input methods in case you want some Pinion or some other alternative keyboard options there. Here's your panel settings. And so here you can customize your panel, and you can see now that it's highlighted in kind of a red color and the opacity's backed off, so you can tell that it's in edit mode. And so here you can adjust your panel height so you can make it smaller if you wish. If you like a smaller panel, you can do that. Or if you want it big, you can make it monstrous. The default is right in the middle at 40. And then again, you can also center left and right. So if you hit center zone, then you can adjust things here in the center of the panel, things over on the right hand side you can adjust, so, and also on your left. So you can really kind of tweak down to a good level there just for that. And then your privacy settings, of course. So here you can not remember previously accessed files if you got multiple users and you don't want people snooping into your bank account password file that you have on there that you shouldn't. Then you can turn that off and then it won't show up in the recent files. And then you can also tell it to never forget old files. Otherwise, it'll delete them after 7 days. And check your connectivity. That's always good. Then you got screensaver applications, screensavers, startup apps, window tiling, and so forth. Startup apps, these are the things that start up when you first turn on your computer and log in. And so here you can add specific apps or services if you want something to launch when you start up. And then we got our hardware settings, display, graphics, keyboard, and we got our mouse and touchpad settings here. You can, if you're a left-handed user, you can change that to a lefty there. If you want to uncheck that, you got to use your right click because it's set up for left-handed now. So there you go. Nice. And then our more advanced settings down here at the bottom. If you want to run a firewall, adjust your login screen, and so forth, you can do all that right from here. And now let's just launch our terminal. So I'm going to jump down here, launch our terminal, and I'm going to see if NeoFetch is installed. And it is. Nice. So we have our Linux Mint Debian symbol here, mintified. And so that's very nice, showing that we're running LMDE 6, which is named Faye. Faye is the version of LMDE 6. running kernel 6.1.0-11, so not too bad there on the kernel version. Running Cinnamon 5.84, using Mutta for the window manager, aka Muffin, and then we're running our Mint Y Dark purple theme that we adjusted at the beginning of the video. And we're running Gnome terminal here as well. Nice. And of course, if you want to download an app via the terminal, we would just use the apt package manager. So a sudo apt install, of course, Inkscape. I can't forget that. And then authenticate and maybe make this bigger. And I'll say yes. So that's how easy it is to download just from the terminal. And that's typically how I download applications, because I know what it is I want to install, and it's just quicker through the terminal. And so we'll just kind of install that real quick and make sure it's all downloading. And as you can see from the repos, we got our fairly recent version there, it looks like. Of course, if you want to get in a Flatpak or something, it's probably a little easier if you're a GUI person to just jump into the package manager and select the FlatHub rather than using the Flatpak command, because then you got to know what the name of the app is. Or you can copy it from FlatHub. But whatever the case, Inkscape is installed. So if I jump up here, it should appear in the graphics menu, and there it is. So that just downloaded with no problem at all. And as usual, it installed perfectly. And this is Inkscape 1.2, so yes. It's not ancient, I don't think. Draw freely. And you can see here the version is from December 2022, so not too shabby. One of my favorite graphics apps. So I'm just going to minimize that real quick so I can see this cool desktop background, and nice. So yeah, I think I really pretty much covered everything. So it's about time for my 2 cents. Wow! So what do I think about this? Totally impressed. I really like the stability of Debian anyway, and the fact that you can get Linux Mint in a Debian flavor I think is really fantastic. I don't think that Ubuntu is ever going to go anywhere, but if you're somebody that loves Mint, but maybe you don't like corporations, maybe you got something against Ubuntu, this is the perfect alternative, is to use the LMDE. As far as I can tell, it's fully functional, feature-rich, and software-rich as the Ubuntu, because, of course, Ubuntu's based on Debian anyway. It's got the Debian package manager with Ubuntu repos. So, yes, I mean, why not just use the Debian version? If I had my druthers, I'd probably choose Debian anyway. So, it's really nice that you have this Debian version of Linux Mint. And I hear a lot of comments all the time that people really prefer the Debian version. And I can really kind of see why. I ran Debian LMDE for a while, a couple years back, and I daily drove it for, I don't know, probably a month or so, and I just totally enjoyed the experience. Of course, I had to go back to Arch because of my unique situation of needing to install tons of software and having access to the AUR and all that. Although now you have apps like DistroBox and so forth that can kind of compensate for you so you can get through the AUR there. But that's a whole different story. So would I recommend this? Heck yeah, especially if you're coming over from Windows, or if you're a new user to Linux and you kind of have that Windows mindset still and you need that kind of basic look to not get too confused, then this is a perfect transition distro here. So absolutely, totally, how could I not recommend a distro like Linux Mint? It's probably one of the most reliable distros out there, especially when you got Debian in the back end as its base. So that's just a double score as far as I can tell. And with that, I hope this quick overview of LMDE was helpful. And if it was, don't forget to hit that thumbs up. Oh, and if it wasn't helpful, give me 2 thumbs up. And don't forget to hit subscribe. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.